Okay, it's Tuesday, the 13th of October. This is week number 5. We'll briefly go over sorting objects and then spend a little more time on controlling the user coordinate system. And then hopefully we'll spend the biggest part of the class on viewports, layouts, controlling layers within a viewport, paper space, printing from a layout. No participants yet. It's 4:05. And how do I get back to the handout? There we go. Visualize. Okay. Hello, Dan, on your cell line.
Oh. Hello, Paul.
How are you doing, Dan?
I'm okay. How are you, Paul?
Not too bad. Had a relaxing weekend. Didn't get much done. Do y'all get Columbus Day off?
No.
One of the Christmas days or
Yeah.
down?
Yep. Yeah, it's a bummer when we don't get it. But hey, that's the way it goes.
I think you'll be laughing at the rest of us during that 2-week shutdown.
I don't know about that, but it is a nice shutdown. Most of it's paid, so you know they move a couple days around to compensate. That's
All
good.
right. Once in a rare while, they only have a whoops. Sometimes they only have a week shutdown if the holidays fall just right.
That's right.
I saw your message that Zoom will be allowed on shipyard computers.
Yes, that'll be.
I
I
wonder
was
if
having,
well,
I
go
was
ahead,
having,
man.
I was having a hard time. It makes it challenging if you're working off a small cell phone screen to zoom in and out to what you're doing and also work the AutoCAD. It's nice with a big screen.
Copy that. I wonder if some students will just hang around, and stay in the office to attend class. But I wonder what the big shots will think about that.
I don't know.
I seem to recall when I was at the shipyard, this one man was carpooling. Well, his driver wanted to get the extra hour overtime. So this guy didn't want to work overtime. So he just opened up a book and started reading. And the boss says, "Hey, if you're not working, go down and sit in the lobby." And,
Yeah, they have a rule where, yeah, I mean, if it's authorized, then they can be there. You know, it's justified. It's case by case basis, supervisor by supervisor. I mean, one could say yes and one could say no. It's really subjective to the authority of the position.
good. Check, see if okay. I'm sorry, everybody except one has turned in week 4, and she had computer problems and had to order another one. It's got to be shipped in. Let's see, 3 more coming in. Alexander, Catheria, and oh, here comes Kurt. Yeah, it's about 4:15. And Damien's coming. What are we doing? We got 6. I think we have 9 students still hanging on. And I'm hoping to spend about 10 minutes on selecting objects and 20 or 30 on controlling the UCS, and then at least an hour on playing with viewports and paper space, layouts, and maybe get into some plotting. I ain't got no printer set up on this computer, so we'll just plot to a JPEG or maybe a PDF. See, another one. No.
Did you teach how to move the UCS around yet, or is that in an upcoming class?
No, that'll be today.
Oh, subliminally, I must have heard you say that.
All right. At the bottom of the first handout page, we'll make a little house object and maybe put some solar panels on the roof by jockeying the UCS around. I got 8. I think Anna might be the last one to come in. I believe let me double check. I got the recording running here.
Mine is on.
Everybody got the 2-page handout, either in hard copy or open in another window. I forgot to name the file. So when I uploaded it to the classroom, so it's kind of the name of the AutoCAD drawing from which it printed out of. Let's see. Go out here. Get back to a plan view. Okay, let's disregard the top part of page 5-1. I've already marked my master copy that, hey, this is kind of redundant. Don't mess with it. But the middle of page 5-1 is in the starter file. Everybody got the week 5 starter file open? I emailed it to y'all. And I can't remember if you can download the starter file from the classroom or not. I can collect assignments through the classroom, but I don't think I can pass out AutoCAD files to you through the classroom. But the classroom, the starter file has got a plate of spaghetti here. We'll do a regen. It will play with straightening out the text and narrowing down objects based on their properties. And then we'll have some fun with the this little cabin here. I'm going to delete the gables on one side, create a UCS on that side, and put some solar panels on it. And hopefully when we get into your birdhouse, swinging the UCS around, here comes Anna. Okay. So, and then after playing with the UCS a while, I'm gonna pick some of these 3D objects we've got. A lot of them you've seen for homework already. And your assignment is going to be, we'll pick 2 or 3 of these And I want you to develop a top view, front view and right side view with an isometric in the corner. And all the same scale and all lined up, so you can put a straight edge from one view to the other, line them all up. What else? We'll make viewports with rectangles and convert objects in the viewports. So get back. So middle of page 5-1, doing the regen here, RE enter. If you select everything in this pile, in the starter file, you see you're looking at the properties of all 34 objects. And since there's so many different types of objects, the list of properties that is common among all the types of objects is pretty short. But say we want to straighten out all the text lines. I don't know how often that would come up in real life, but we want to concentrate on just the objects of these 34 that are M-text objects. So in the property, and by the way, you remember how to get properties up. If what was that? Control-1, was it? Yeah, just learned that today. Hold the control key and hit 1 will open up the properties dialog box. The other way you might have to go to the and I installed this workspace center drop down list on the top here. I'll show you how if you're interested, but we have been going to this little arrowhead in the lower right corner of the properties panel on the home tab of the drafting and annotation workspace. And another way to open up properties is just select an item and pick properties from the bottom. And it'll stay open until you close it. Hit escape to deselect stuff. So one way or another, get properties open. We'll select all the objects. We'll isolate the objects to just the multi-line text. Older drawings might have text objects as well. Single line text, they're old-fashioned. And they may still be around because programs use them. Anyway, we'll select A, Mr. AutoCAD. Tell me what you know about the 13 M-text objects. So, the color varies. Some are by layer. Some are assigned uniquely from a bad CAD operator. Anyway, with the 12 we'll select. We need to use this quick select tool so that only the M-text items are selected. Not only we can see the M-text properties here, but only the M-text objects are selected. Dropping down here tells us properties, but it doesn't deselect the circles, lines, and polylines that are thrown in here. So right here is the quick select icon. I forget, type in QSEL maybe. Click on this quick select thing. While I'm here, try to avoid touching this icon with the green arrow. Once in a while, the shift to deselect when you're building your selection set stops working. And I think it's because students accidentally hit this little toggle value of pick add system variable. And that makes it so that you have to hold the shift button to select more than one object, kind of like your PowerPoint. Anyway, getting back here, we'll click on quick select. We got all 34 items selected. We want to say we want to get just the M-text items. We'll drop down the the object type drop down and select M-text. We don't want to isolate it by those that have a color equal to by layer. So drop down the equals and change it to select all. Everything we do today will have the top one checked here, include in a new set, but there's some cases where you select stuff to remove from the selection set, resulting in a new selection set minus what you filter out. We'll pick select all, click OK. Now just the 13 M-text items are selected. From the properties palette here, then we can go to the rotate item. It's shown in bold text, so it's editable. We can change them all so they read straight to the right. Why did they not go straight to the right? Always something, ain't it? All right, M-text, select all, OK. Change the rotation angle to 0 and hit enter. There they go. Not sure what I did differently. Anna's coming in. I thought you already came in, Anna. Sorry to keep you waiting. So we can also filter out. Open up the quick select again and say, hey, out of the M-text selected, I want just the ones that have a style equal to one of these styles that are in the starter file. Isolate it down. When you hit escape to bail out, start all over again. Let's play with the circles now. Select everything. 34 items selected. Go to quick select. And say, hey, Mr. AutoCAD, I want everything that is a circle to be in the new selection set, and take out everything that is not a circle. So we got 10 circles here. We might launch the quick select again and say, hey, let's out of those that are selected here, let's select all those that have a color that is not equal to by layer. Again, bad CAD practice, not so important in 3D work that you keep everything by layer. We'll click OK. Now we're down to, what was that, 5 items. Maybe isolate it down to exclude circles with a diameter greater than 2, say, to get rid of this biggest one. Launch quick select again. Here, I lied to you. We'll exclude from this selection set all circles whose diameter is greater than 2. Hope I remember the diameter of the circles. Click OK. And that eliminated the only circle that's diameter is greater than 2. I saw one textbook that had a exercise. You pick these holes in a gasket or like a compressor head type thing. For whatever reason, the engineer says, hey, we need bigger bolts because of the pressure. So you can quickly select the circles in the drawing and change the diameter to say 1, enter. And that'll globally change all the circles from 5/8 or whatever up to 1 without having to go to each one individually and scale it or change it with the properties. Just a little appetizer. There's a higher, more capable method of filtering objects that I'm thinking the programmers probably use more than CAD operators, but type the word filter. I don't believe it's in an icon. And that brings up kind of like a Excel or Microsoft Access logic where you can I don't know this well enough to show you, but you can say, hey, give me all circle. You can write a whole bunch of if and if, or, and all sorts of logic statements. If you know the, the syntax to type it in, there's a lot of drop down lists in here. But the nice thing about this is once you got your query set up to isolate just the objects that follow the complicated criteria you write out, you can save that query to use later on other drawings. That might be handy to globally change one drawing after another by filtering out just the special objects and changing the property or deleting the special objects that are selected with this filter dialog box. Anybody got any question on quick select? Years ago I had a roll-on roll-off ship, and somebody had cross-hatched one of the compartments that had machinery in them or crew quarters, or anyway, they cross-hatched they had the scale set for cross-hatching way too fine, so it was almost a puddle of ink with all these cross-hatching lines. Furthermore, in the translation from one CAD to another, I believe they were exploded. So you ended up with a bunch of 45-degree lines. And because of the round off error, some were 44.999, others were 45.001. It took a few steps, but I could erase every 45 degree line just by using this quick select filtering method, rather than having to fence or window and individually click them all. I guess if you zoom in, you can select a lot at once, but you got a half dozen compartments. It's pretty tedious. So I can't think of a way to incorporate filtering into your homework, so don't sweat the load. So far, so good. Not hearing any questions, or got all nine students with us. Dan, your cell phone mic is on. That's okay.
It's all good.
Once or twice I've been caught with a mic on for teleconferences, and they hear me sliding the keyboard around and all sorts of noise. It's kind of embarrassing. Anyway, let's zoom out and pan over to this 3D little camping lodge here. And let me show you this, and then maybe we'll start our own little cabin. I don't expect you to put porches and all the dormer windows on, but we'll swing the view around with 3D free orbit. 3DFO is a type in. Navbar, I believe, is the command to make this thing appear. If it disappears again, I'll type navbar. Anyway, at this point, we're working with the world coordinate system. Think of the world coordinate system like latitude and longitude of the Earth. 0, 0,0,0, you might think of as being on the ground at the equator. What's the 0 longitude line? Is that a meridian? Goes through Greenwich, England, I believe. Anyway, that point on the planet is 0, 0, 0. But say you wanted to put solar panels on the roof. Let me erase these dormers get them out of the way. Time permitting, I'll show you how to build them real quick. But we want to get rectangles here that are half a unit high. In this drawing, a unit represents a foot. Not very realistic for architecture. So what we want to do is have the origin at this point right here on the corner of the roof, corner of the top of the roof, so that anything we draw will be spray painted or crayon marked on the tiles, the shingles of the roof. Not only we want to define the 0, point for our temporary user coordinate system to put the solar panels or the skylights in, but we need to tell AutoCAD, hey, I also want the X direction to look down this edge of the roof. An easy way to specify that is just O snap into the midpoint. Let me make sure I got Burgener's 5 favorite. Oops, I got insertion on playing with it. But, we got midpoint. Midpoint and endpoint are popular for this UCS jockeying around. The UCS process will also say specify a point on the XY plane. Well, it's probably easiest to go up what you want to have as the Y-axis and O snap at the midpoint there. But any point that is on the shingles already answers that question. You know, you just need, after you got a 0, in one direction, you can specify a point on a plane, and that by default, that defines where the Y-axis is. Anyway, let's toggle over to 3D modeling workspace. There's doubt if there's much use for UCSs in two-dimensional drawing. You can still type UCS enter at any time and instead of using the icons, but all the icons are on the 3D basics and 3D modeling workspaces. Right in here in this coordinates panel. And I still haven't memorized what all these icons are. This one with the Earth or the world on it returns you to the world UCS. One of them is a saved, nope. There we go. This one with the little window with some lines is where you can store user coordinate system. In my opinion, it's fast enough to create them as you need them. But be aware you can save them to come back later. Which reminds me, I'd like you to, the AutoCAD is already set by default the way I want it to be. Both of these system variables are set to 0. UCS ortho, okay, that if that is set to 1, anytime you change a UCS, or no, anytime you change your view to one of the orthographic views, back, front, left, right, top, bottom, anytime you select one of these views, it immediately assumes you want a UCS right on the surface you're looking at, or on a plane parallel to the surface you're looking at. Not sure if it, you know, finds the nearest point and uses that as 0, 0, 0. But I want to control the views individually, and I want to control the user coordinate systems individually. And I think it's, I don't know, it's, let me make changes as I want them to be made. Don't go assuming I want UCSs to follow the orthographic view. The other one is kind of sort of similar. If you've got a bunch of saved UCSs, and reinstate one or set one current, if UCS follow is set to 1, it pops you immediately to the plan view. So if you change your UCS, it immediately swings your view around. So you're looking straight down at your object. Again, maybe I want to change the UCS, but not my view. You got one saved and may or may not need to use it. So fortunately, by default, both are already 0, but things get kind of strange if you sit down in an AutoCAD, somebody's set them to 1. Anyway, where were we? Oh, 3-point UCS, I think, is by far the most universal one. There's ones you can swing it about the current Z axis. You can move the origin, but have X and Y stay the same direction. Swinging about the X axis. By the way, this one is the view UCS, which I like in making handouts. That's almost as if I'm writing literally on my monitor. Places the text, so it's easy to read on the handouts. But I think just annotation on your drawing is all that's good for. Anyway, getting back here, we'll click on the 3-point UCS tool. AutoCAD prompts, okay, where do you want the new 0, 0, 0? I'll zoom in on that edge of the shingled surface of the sloped roof. Now it says specify a point in the positive direction portion of the X axis. Make sure you're on the, we got 2 parallel lines here. The lower, the one to the right, is the sharp edge that we're working with. This might be a good time to change the visual style to conceptual to confirm that. But click on the midpoint, or if you're quick with a typewriter, type NEA for near, and you don't have to pan and zoom so far. So we'll click on, actually, well, you can, yeah, anyway, you can type MID and just as well. So specifying that midpoint says, okay, X is in that direction. Now it says specify a point on the positive Y portion of the new XY plane you're building. And again, it's probably easiest and intuitive just to slide up and pick a point on what you want to be the Y axis. The end point at the peak of the roof, or midpoint halfway, or near point anywhere along the way. Zoom out, and there's our new XYZ coordinate. Change it to the wireframe. You get the nice pretty color UCS origin with Z coming perpendicular straight out of the roof. Let me toggle back to 2D wireframe. Now that we got these dormers out off the surface, let's draw some rectangles. I don't know what a standard solar panel is, but we'll just wing it for now with the rectangle command and copy a couple. Where's copy? There it is. Hit enter to invoke the last use command. I suppose I could have arrayed these guys. I'll pick all 4 and center them a little better. Now I'm on layer 0, I believe, but I can change the layer to select them and move them to the skylight layer later. Let's go to the extrude command. Like we've done several times before, just select the closed polyline objects. It says, hey, how far do you want to extrude them? Type 0.5 for, say, 6 inches. And there's our new solar panels laying flat on the shingles. Change it to a visual style, and what happened? Why did they not? All right, this would be a, let's rotate it. Huh? Maybe that first point I picked, I accidentally snapped on something in the background. Not a problem. We'll move them all. I wasn't planning on learning you this. You know, I was just about to move them all to 0, 0, 0. You know, so this corner goes to the new 0, 0, 0. And then once they're all on the 0, 0, 0, I very carefully move them in the, move them into position, being careful not to creep up a z-axis. With point filters is a shortcut. Maybe I want them to be the same X and Y as they are right now, but change the Z from what it is right now to the new 0 as defined by the new user coordinate system I'm in. So we got them all selected, hit enter. AutoCAD says base point. I'll pick the point on that I want to be on the shingles. Now the fun part comes up. Specify the second point by typing period XY. I'm telling Mr. AutoCAD to my second point of the move operation will have the exact same X and Y as the first point. So type point XY, period XY, enter. Pick the exact same point again. Now it says, okay, now tell me what Z do you want in accordance with the current user coordinate system. I'll say, hey, I want the Z coordinate of the second point of the move operation to be 0 and hit enter. Now let's do the 3D free orbit, and they are flat on the roof. I don't know how I accidentally picked it a foot below the roof. If I homed in on something in the background, maybe it was, maybe I accidentally creeped down the Z-axis. Always something.
Can you do it again?
All right. We will erase the skylights.
Oh no, I mean the move part. That's the part I want. Is that comma XY or the point XY is confusing me. That's like telling it to go, hey, the original point, keep that the same.
Well,
No.
for the second point, keep the X and Y components of the second point identical to the
What it
first
is.
point.
Oh, I see. And then Z, you just how did you make? Can you show me how you did the made up to the Z? Like you brought it right up to the correct plane, but I don't know how it happened. It's like,
well,
it was like magic.
Keep in mind we got X, Y, Z right on the edge of the roof. So Z of 0 is literally on the shingles. By the way, I'll show you. I think if you go to the F1 for help and type coordinates, I think you get into this stuff. I learned it as point filters, but anyway, launch the move command, pick all 4. And nothing else, hit enter. Select the point we want to move to the top of the shingle or to the surface of the shingles. It's asking for the second point of the move operation. I can put it over here and it'll slide on its current plane over here if I pick in blank space. Again, be careful creeping up on the Z. Yeah, there's the Z axis. So if I select here, I'm not sliding it on the current XY plane. I'm literally moving it up the Z axis. Anyway, let's specify the second point. I want to type period XY. In other words, the second point should have the XY component of the coordinates where I pick. Hit enter. It says, okay, where are you going to pick? Oh, snap at the exact same point. Now it says, okay, I'm with you. You want it to be moved someplace that goes through that point above and below the Z axis. What Z do you want? I'll type 0, enter. I didn't see it move because I guess I didn't undo far enough back. Now the solar panels are, the corner of the matrix is at the same XY as it was earlier, but the corner of the matrix is now at Z equals 0 of the user coordinate system. Another way would be, let me move them down the Z axis a ways. Okay, now looks like we're 3 feet below the shingles now. Another way would, as long as we got the UCS set, we can draw a line. Be careful. Whoa, almost went into the Z direction again. So pick a second point that has no tracking line on it, because you certainly don't want to accidentally go up or down the Z axis. So right there, those 2 points are on the shingles because I didn't O-snap to anything. So I just drew a line by picking 2 random points. I drew a line literally on the shingles. Bail out of 3D free orbit, launch move, select everything probably could have done previous, hit enter, O-snap there and O-snap it to the end point. So now all the solar panels are on the Z, are on the XY plane. Move them now to move them into position. Hit escape to get out of 3D free orbit, launch move again, P enter for the previous stuff selected and hit enter. Pick 2 random points, being careful not to go up or down the Z axis. And we can position these panels where we want them. Maybe get a second row below them. 3D free orbit to admire our work. Now let's do the conceptual and nothing will go wrong. There we go. Let's go back to 2D wireframe. Let's erase the panels and build some gables. Build one big gable on that side. I'll hit the erase icon, P for previous. They're gone. Now let me copy. I'm going to plagiarize. I'm going to steal this house I made, scale it down halfway, rotate it, superimpose it on the roof and then slice it right off at the shingles. Okay. And we could have the gable sticking inside of the house, but that's kind of unprofessional or non-elegant. We'll click copy, select enough of our cabin here. Don't believe I got a floor here. It's just the walls and dirt for the ground. Got 2 roofs, 4 walls, enter. Move it to the side. We'll scale everything. Pick a base point anywhere and we'll say 0.5. Rotate. Well, I'm in the odd UCS right now, so if I try to rotate it, who knows how it's going to get twisted around. So I'm going to go back to the world coordinate system. Again, you can save this guy with this little icon to the left of the world, you know, and just give it a new name. Say shingles. Click OK. And you can always go back to shingles anytime you want. I set current next time. Anyway, let's go to the world coordinate system. We'll rotate this guy, this little doghouse around. Minus 90 degrees. Or toggle with the O snap on a polar tracking line. I'll move all this stuff, P for previous. And we'll O snap it right there. We want this front wall to be bearing on the front wall of the house. I think that's good architecture, structural engineering. I'm not one, so I'll slide it in the Y direction, or I'm sorry, the X direction. The X direction in the world coordinate system is the exact same direction as the X direction in the shingles coordinate system. They're just pointing that way, pointing to the east or whatever. I'll just eyeball it centered here. Next job now is to slice all this garbage. I can eliminate that wall completely and slice the remaining 4 surfaces that penetrate the shingles. You can see the the doghouse is sticking inside our cabin. So I want to slice everything off at the shingles line for this little cabin model. It escaped the bailout. Go back to our slice command we've used a couple times, I believe. Didn't we? Yeah, we used it for the sandbox, I remember. So we'll click slice. AutoCAD says, what do you want to slice? I'll select the 2 roof panels and the 2 wall panels and hit enter. Now we'll specify the 3 points method by hitting enter or typing 3 enter, or selecting 3 points. And I'll specify 3 points that are on the plane of the shingles. Notice the UCS is still the world coordinate system. Oh, I see what went wrong now. I got confuse myself on which of these two lines is the higher of the two. I don't know that that was big enough to make the difference. Second point of the 3-point slice would be the midpoint on the shingles. And the third point would be the midpoint or near point of the shingles up anywhere. I always like to keep them both just so I can get the warm and fuzzy that I'm, watching the slices form. And now manually delete the garbage. Do a 3D free orbit. There's our gable. Change it to a conceptual or realistic visual style. Admire our work again. Not a problem. We'll slide it further up the roof so it doesn't interfere with this porch. Return to 3D wireframe. Launch move. Don't know if P for previous will work now. So I'll select them all. Enter. I want to slide them up the shingles. So for base point of the move command, I'll pick a point at the y = 0, and then pick a near O snap to nudge it just a couple feet up the y direction. There's the base point. Shift right click, pick nearest. Eyeball a point up the y in the y direction, making sure that peak doesn't go past the top of the roof. I think I'm messing up my structural now that I think of it. The gable wall will no longer be on the wall of the first floor. It looks like I just barely cleared the peak. The conceptual, get the warm and fuzzy. How did that happen? I'll delete, erase that. Try not to lose sleep over it. Maybe move to center it over the roof. P for previous. Oh, the previous stuff just go back to wireframe. Get rid of that line I drew on the XY plane. Move. Okay, it looks like this wall sunk into the shingles a bit. Let's get the warm and fuzzy. Yeah, I'll slice the bottom of this wall off. 3D slice. Select the wall I want to cut. Hit enter. Select 3 points method. 3 points anywhere on the, oh no, I'm back in the world coordinate system. My bad. So I'll slice, select it, and I'll say I want it to there, and midpoint there, enter, and nothing happened. We'll try it again. Slice, select it, enter. Select the 3 points method. O-snap on 3 spots that live on the shingles and hit enter. We can trim that piece of the wall away. Say we want to put a skylight on this roof here. Let's create a new UCS. Click on 3 point. Specify our origin, say at the lower left corner here of the shingles. X is at the midpoint or at the end of this edge of the shingles. And a point on the positive XY plane would be midpoint on up this line. I think I could go easily. I could select midpoint at the peak at the top of the gable just as well. And we'll draw a sunroof, or what do you call a skylight. Double check that it is what we expected. Accidentally hit the right mouse there. I believe I drew it on the shingles. Extrude, select it, enter, bring it up, say, 4 inches, 0.333. Go to conceptual. And it is flat on the roof. I thought about trying to put a dome on it by making a sphere and sinking it down and then slicing just the top of the sphere, but we won't get that fancy. Maybe we want to put a railing up the side of the steps. Three-point UCS again. Create a UCS that's on the side of the steps here. Draw a rectangle. And we'll go to midpoint. Extrude this guy, say a 1/3 of a foot. Copy him. Need one more at the bottom here. I'll perfectly O-snap it there. Moving it from that corner to that corner. Force a habit, I copied instead of move. Like Dan pointed out last week, once you've got your solid object made, you can press pull it rather than draw it, specifying 3 points around to slice it. You can press pull it, select the top surface, and whoop, what happened? Press pull, click in the middle of the surface. Very faintly see the 4 sides of the top of this roughly 4x4 post are now dotted lines. Slide it down some. I'm just going to swag it here. And it's taken longer than I expected. You can take one of these and align it with the 2-dimensional align command that I prefer. Don't forget the 3D align, but the picking the points is not as intuitive to me as with the old align command. We'll select this guy. I want that point to be there, that point to be there, and say that midpoint to touch about right there. Slice it off, and lay a second one there, slice, enter. What happened? Slice, select it, enter. 3 points, specify 3 points on the top of these 4x4s. And I'll just lay another one across the top here. We're on our way to making the railing. I think I can move this column if I haven't unioned everything together. Double check. Almost 5:15. I was thinking of building a chimney on the side of the cabin. Placing an XYZ user coordinate system on the side of the cabin that doesn't have the porch. And just draw the shape of a chimney and extrude it out. Slicing it away from the overhang of the roof's a little tricky. But any question about UCSes? Again, you can save them and set them current to reactivate them. But I'm thinking by the time you find the icon to get back to them, you can go, make a fresh one with the 3 points method. I want to take a 15-minute break. I got 5:14 right now. Let's reconvene, say, at 5:30.
Okay.
Trying to think, there might be times you'd want to have the user coordinate system be perfectly at the center of a circle. So you want to slice this key perfectly in half to form two thin keys. And I could, if the wind's blowing right, I might be able to select that surface. I think because of all the clutter of wire, lines in the background, it might be difficult to select just that surface. I'm curious now. Nope, wasn't hard at all.
That was another problem with using your cell phone as the Zoom. Somebody called me and I had to hang up the Zoom to answer. That was the first time that happened.
Don't you hate that?
Yeah.
Probably a telemarketer, wasn't it?
No, I was giving away a free wheelbarrow wheel and I had set the thing out at the street. I told the guy where it was, next to a cone next to my driveway, but he decided he wanted to call me, letting me know that he was here.
Interesting. How'd you advertise it? Marketplace, Craigslist?
Craigslist, free item.
I offered a mechanical jack, hoping that a Model A, an antique car owner would take it. Posted it on free Craigslist, and I was overwhelmed with how many people wanted it.
How long have you been up for, though?
Check out trashnothing.com. Trash nothing, one word.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of grew out of the old Free Cycle Yahoo group. Yesterday, I picked up a couple of 8-foot fluorescent lights.
Nice.
I think that was on Facebook Marketplace.
How long has that website been around, the trashnothing.com?
Oh, a few years at least.
Oh, so it's relatively new.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't know, 10 years when Facebook and MySpace and the internet got really going. Somebody created the Free Cycle Yahoo group, and there were some glitches, and I think Trash Nothing formed, hoping to satisfy the glitches with Free Cycle. Briefly, there was one called Gigo-It, Gigo-It, for garbage in, garbage out. And I really liked that one because you could rate the person that gives stuff away and rate the person that receives it. And I believe you could specify a radius, and it used GPS. If you only wanted to search for stuff within, say, 10 miles.
Yeah.
I guess Facebook and Craigslist might do that as well.
Do you use OfferUp?
Yes, that and Let Go.
I haven't tried that one yet.
It's been a while, maybe a few weeks since I used OfferUp and Let Go.
Problem I see OfferUp is that people have an account from a year ago, and they post something, and then I don't know, it's like they lose their account or whatever, but their stuff is still posted, and you say, well, I needed a generator cover a couple weeks back, and there was somebody in the next town over that had one, but it was posted a year ago, and I would send them a message. No response. So it's I think like Craigslist is better in that sense because your ad expires and it's no
that's
longer
right.
valid.
Good point.
Anyways, I went to eBay and got that cover for like $27, and now my generator's running.
Good. What time we got here? Got another 5 minutes? No, 10 minutes. Well, let me slice this just for the sake of the recording. My effort to press pull didn't work so much, and I think because the second point, because my UCS is over back here on the house. But anyway, let's see, we'll start and make a UCS, enter. I want the X to be there. Exact, whoop, what happened? What happened? UCS. Well, actually, I don't need a UCS at all. I can snap 3 points to the midpoints. Yeah, slice, select it, enter, 3 points. Specify 3 endpoints that are not in a straight line. And there we split the little skeleton key looking thing in half. I'm taking a gamble here. I believe I'm going in the negative X direction, which is the same direction as wherever I left the user coordinate system. Yep. Nope. Always something, ain't it? All right, we'll move it back. We'll go to toggle over to the world UCS. Move it from any point on the XY plane, toggling out the 270-degree direction. I believe that did what I wanted. And Dan, another way to keep stuff from going to the landfill is donate it to Restore. You familiar with Restore? Let me go ahead and make that chimney then. And again, where it penetrates these overhangs, it's a little complicated. I think I'd have to copy the chimney on itself and use one as a sacrificial chimney to subtract. Let's make a 3-point UCS. There's the 0, 0, 0. There's the X direction. And there's a good point on the XY plane. I'll use a polyline. What the heck, we'll start at the midpoint. Be careful not to accidentally O-snap. It might have been smart to mirror this, but I'm not smart, so I'll just swag. Oh, there we go. Polar tracking. I can get it mirror, get it symmetric. I can't remember what angle I picked here. Come straight down to shift, right click perpendicular to come straight down to the ground. And then C for close, or right click and select close. Swing it around. Okay, not as centered as I wanted, but that's okay. We'll extrude this closed polyline into the, this would be the positive Z direction. I say, I don't know, 2 feet. How do we notch this out? I'm going to copy this chimney a set distance in the Z, in the new Z direction, say 10 units. That way I'll remember to move it back 10 units. Launch the subtract command. What do I want to subtract from? Pick the big object. Hit enter. Select my sacrificial chimney and hit enter. Now move the copy back to 10 units where it was. You put a solar panel on the porch. Points. I believe that's the corner of the shingles of the porch. The box command. Pick an open space so I don't accidentally O-snap on anything. Specify the length when my cursor is resting in the X direction. Let's say 4 feet. Width, say 4 feet again. The height, say 1/2 foot, 0.5. Let's see if that put a skylight or a solar panel on the roof of the porch. I don't believe that came out very well. Let me do an ID. ID. Okay, that's a Z of 0. I think I messed up defining my user coordinate system, because the y-axis is slightly off the edge. I might have O-snapped on this piece instead of the roof. Anyway, getting back the ID command again. This point will have a slight, yep, made a liar out of me. That's 0, z equals 0 also. Oh, yeah, in accordance with my cockeyed UCS, let me use the 3D, use the align command. Put it perfectly on the shingles. Gently move it in on the XY plane, being careful not to go up the Z axis or snap on something in the background. There's the Z axis, break free of it. Why does that not look right? Well, let's go back to the world system. This will do a zoom all. I think the left side will zoom straight in. Always something. Move, select the solar panel. I'll move it. And keeping in mind I'm still in the world coordinate system, I'll pick a near point or the midpoint to slide it up the shingles. And I can slide it in the X direction because the X direction of the world coordinate system is the same direction as across the shingles. Getting back to the left side view, zoom in. There we go. This looks sloppy. It looks like the slab of the roof fouls with the whatever you want to call this piece. I'll have to fix that before the next time. Yep. Let's see, can I move it from there to perpendicular? Probably messed up the other end now. Okay, this is the far piece and this is the near piece. Slice surplus. All right, enough of this. We got 5:35. Everybody back from break?
Yep.
Okay, now for the fun stuff. How to put this? I used to have a handout page of a picture of a building with a giant storefront window in it with a bicycle inside the bicycle shop. And the window represented the viewport through which you could see your model space intellectual data. Bulk of your work is done in model space. Paper space is little more than just a gift wrapping to deliver your model space information. So anyway, let's click on layout 1. I've already clicked on it, so it's already got a viewport. Oh, what the heck? Let's yeah, let's go ahead. Yeah, I probably should have sanitized it, even though my I believe the current layer is 0. There's already a viewport that's on the dimensions layer. But had this been a very, very first time anyone had clicked on the word layout number 1, this rectangle looking object would have been on the current layer. If you right click and go to properties, AutoCAD will identify it as a viewport. So picture the white area like being a small bicycle shop. And this viewport that was accidentally put on dimensions layer is a giant window through which you can see your product, your whatever you're selling. The dotted line doesn't print out and you can't O-snap it. That tells you that on the default printer, anything that you draw outside of that dotted line will not come out on the print. So that just kind of shows you the usable area of the sheet of paper. So a layout is very close to a plot preview. Let's zoom in on one of our objects. We'll well, before we zoom in, my hands are still outside the shop. Okay, if I draw on anything here, it'll be on the outside of the window and on the bricks and mortar stucco of the building. To demonstrate that, I'll just draw some squiggle here. Typically, the title block and borders, the first thing put on paper space. Now again, what's outside of the dotted line will not be printed out. Okay, so all these lines are drawn on the glass right here on the side of the building, and then kind of off the building, but on the same plane as the glass of the building. To continue a little further, I'll put a title block down here. I'll shift right click nearest, and I'll intentionally make it a little cocky so that you don't confuse the title block and border with a viewport. So you might draw horizontal lines and grease pencil, put the company name, drawing, check by, scale, all that stuff. Drawings might have a list of revisions going above the title block. Anyway, eventually you want to reach through the glass and alter the view so you're looking at the front view of your bicycle or whatever's inside the shop. The way you activate a viewport is simply double click on it. Notice that we no longer have that blue triangle that was in the corner down here. We're back to our familiar user coordinate icon. Let me double check it's in the world UCS in case I left it someplace accidental. I'll change to the front view. We'll zoom in on any one of these items. As long as the viewport is active, it's as if our hands are reaching through the glass, and we can erase and modify and draw just as if we had gone back to the model tab here in the lower left of the screen. We can do everything in through this small screen. It's as if our model space is now just the space confined by this magenta viewport. Anyway, I want to get a top view, a front view, a right side view, and up here a isometric view of this object. And I'll assign you a couple other objects to deliver this by Saturday at midnight. Well, the viewport is way too big, for just to show the front view here. So the viewport is not in model space, so I can't grab it with my hands through this active viewport. I could grab all my stuff down here and delete, slice them and delete them, and even do a 3D. Okay, Burgener. Okay, I guess I got to go to 3D FO, and I can do my 3D orbiting. If I can find the icon or remember the typing commands. We'll go back again to front, zoom in. I'll double click outside of the active viewport and watch what happens. The familiar XYZ icon pops down here to a blue triangle again. Double click outside. Or I can click on the word model and toggle to paper space. But, let's stick with the double clicking method. So now my hands are outside of the glass. We're back outside of the building. There's the triangle telling you that we're in paper space, so that anything I draw now will be graffiti spray painted on the outside of this building. However, now that our hands are outside of the building, I can click on the viewport and move it around and scale it and even rotate it. Here, I'll move it around. I can copy it, almost as if it was a simple rectangle. Let me erase a couple of these. But check it out. We can grip edit these viewports. The viewports made this method by default, and clicking on an unused layout. It's a simple rectangular viewport. Let's see, where's the layout I want to go to? Yeah, click on layout. And right here is the icon for creating simple rectangular viewports. Now remember, my current layer is 0, so these will come out on the layer 0 where we want them. And I can copy them or make new ones. And rectangular viewports remain rectangular. AutoCAD has parametrics, which I haven't taught yet, but I believe you can rig a shape so that the sides remain, all the corners remain 90-degree angles. So except for the parametric magic, this is the only shape I know of that'll, remain rectangle. Anyway, let's make active another viewport, toggle our view around to the right side. Now all of these objects are hidden or lined up on a line, so I got to figure a way how to show, instead of showing every single one of these solid objects, I want to show just whatever this one is. Let me go back to model and see which one that is. That one is exercise 17, which I drew or placed on layer EX17 or 17. So I want, in this viewport, I want to freeze every layer except the EX17 layer. I do not want to go up here to layer properties and simply click in this column, because that'll freeze it everywhere. This is the global freeze. I want to freeze all layers except exercise 17 only when viewed through this viewport. Check it out. Over here to the far right, there's a VP freeze column. You might have to widen your column. I saw a YouTube video where somebody had moved it over here. Can I undo that? Okay, apparently moving columns of the layers, not something recorded to be undoed. But make sure you're looking at the VP freeze column. I got one selected. I'm going to freeze all of them. Not sure what's going to happen to 0. On the global freeze, you can't freeze your current layer. But this might be an exception when you're looking through a viewport. Anyway, I'm going to hit Control A to select all. I'm going to change the icon from thaw to freeze. Got no error message, so it allowed me to freeze in the viewport the current layer. Click OK, and it's totally blank. Let's go with the viewport still active. My hands are through there. I got the model space UCS icon. We'll open up the viewport layer property manager, select example 17 layer, and thaw it. Still got layer 0 current. Close that. Now we're looking at just the stuff on layer EX17. I believe we can shade mode inside of these. I'll make it active. Inside of the viewport, I can get to the visual styles. So that looks like the right side view of what we're looking at the front over here. Let me change it back to 2D wireframe. The next mission, though, is to get the two viewports exactly the same scale. I just double clicked outside of the viewport. Each one of these viewports has like a telephoto lens setting, showing the, a scale of the object. There's a couple ways we can see what the zoom scale is. We're in paper space now. I suggest simply select it and check the properties of it. Right here, let me widen the properties. We've got an odd scale that's slightly off of 1 to 100. I'm thinking it'll get smaller, but let's make it a perfect, nice round 1 to 100 by typing 0.01 for the custom scale. Nothing happened. What did I do wrong? 0.01, enter. There, it went slightly smaller. We can set this one to be the exact same custom scale. 0.01, enter. So now both of these viewports, we can select them both. They both have a 1 to 100 custom scale, which happens to be a standard scale, which is preferred. It's kind of rude to plot stuff out at a strange scale. One of the standard scales, 1/8, 1/10, quarter inch equals a foot, which is the same as 1 to 48, I believe. Anyway, now these two viewports are at the same scale, but they're not lined up well. So how do we line up the right side view so that you can put a straight edge here at this corner and come up straight across and go across wherever that corner is on the right side view? The way I suggest, I've never heard of another way, but check it out. Even though I'm in paper space, I can O-snap through the viewport onto the object seen through the viewport. I'm drawing on paper space, on the glass and on the bricks of the side of the building, but it starts perfectly lined up with that endpoint seen through the glass. Actually, let me put it, it'd be a little easier if I draw a line at the top or bottom. Let me go from the quadrant to the right. Line, O-snap at the quadrant in the front view. Polar track straight across. Now I can move, I can't pan. It's impossible to line this up by panning. You can get pretty darn close, but it's impossible to make it perfect. Let me double check I didn't accidentally roll the mouse. Good, the custom scale is still 1 to 100. The way to perfectly line this thing up is to move the viewport so that this endpoint here lines up perfectly on the line. So far, so good. We'll launch the move
Shouldn't you
command.
lock the viewports?
Say that again, Damien.
Shouldn't you lock the viewports? Or am I
Oh,
looking too far ahead?
good point. Yeah, you're right. After setting the scale, locking the viewport, effectively you're cutting the wires to the telephoto motor so that you can't accidentally roll your IntelliMouse wheel and ruin the zoom scale. I'll select both viewports, and display locked is what Damien's suggesting here. By default, it's no. I'll change it to yes. There's also a way down here on the command line. Yeah, right there's a padlock. I believe you can right click and get to this as well. But let's change it to yes. Now when I activate one, I don't disrupt the zoom scale of the viewport as I pan and as I zoom in and out. Double click outside so we can put our hands on the viewport again. It takes a while before you remember whether you're in temporary model space or paper space. I probably haven't gotten confused for the last time myself yet. We'll launch the move command, select the viewport, hit enter, grab this window or grab this viewport by reaching through and snapping on the glass that lines up with our view of that endpoint. And now with polar tracking, we can just O-snap right there, or use a near O-snap and place it anywhere. Let's just place it at the intersection of my polar tracking and the guideline. Now all lines, all parts line up perfectly. Okay, let's activate the top view. We can go to the top, the viewport in which will show the top view of this machine part from this custom model view drop down. And we've been using the visual style, but to the left of that is a list of standard views. Come down to top, zoom in on our exercise 17, double click outside, and if the wind's blowing right, I might be able to use match properties. Do I
Paul?
dare?
I got a question, Paul. It's Dan.
Yeah, Dan.
I think for class purposes, it would help us if you kept the viewports over the white portion of the sheet, because right now it's sort of off and we don't know, like, is that normal or is that, you know what I mean?
Yep, good
Okay.
point. Let me clean up some of my grease pencil lines. And our hands are outside. I got the paper space blue triangle. Notice that the border of the viewport is fine. When you double click, it becomes bold. Hit escape to get out of command. Why is it? Oh, because I'm not in a viewport. Duh. Okay, now I'm in a viewport. See how the viewport gets bold? You also get the visual down here on the status bar. When you're in a temporary model space, it says model. Double click outside, and all right, where happened to there? It says paper. So you got three visuals, whether you're in temporary model space by having your hands through an active viewport, or you're in paper space with your hands outside of the building. Getting back here, let's move the three viewports onto the paper along with these guidelines I drew. Resize this one so the viewport is entirely within the paper border. My advice is do not use a viewport for a border. bring in a nice title block from outside your drawing. And I think it's extremely rare that people would do that. Use the viewport as the border. And one reason is you can't fatten it up like you can a polyline or a line weight for a regular line. So anyway, getting back here, let's fix our top view. Let's do it the long way. We'll select the viewport, go over here, set the custom scale to 0.01, enter. Now, as Damien pointed, let's lock it before we mess it up. Again, you can drop down here. I believe you can right click and yeah, it's on the cursor menu. So we got all three lined up. However, we got a few layers showing in this viewport that we don't want to display. Layer 0 is this line that all the solids are setting on. This is, I think, that lathe piece. Another one of your exercises. So let's activate the viewport. Got it locked so we can't accidentally alter the display. Go up here to layers again. And we could freeze them all. Being incredibly lazy, I'm going to go up here and click on the freeze layer that this stuff is on icon. Fortunately, AutoCAD was smart enough to realize that when you're in an active viewport, this freeze the layer of the stuff I select only applies to that viewport. So it's the same as freezing all layers in the VP freeze column of the layer property manager dialog box. Click freeze, select that line, and nothing happens because it's current. Okay, it stops here. Do you want to freeze it? I'll change that to yes. Go again to the freeze layer of what I select icon again. We'll select this guy. And I guess it's optional. Let's clean up the little layer label, which I forget if that's on the text layer or we need to line it up again. Let's draw some guidelines from one of the extreme endpoints. We'll move the viewport so that this endpoint lines up, rests gently on this guideline. Move, select the top view viewport, enter. Grab the viewport through the glass. It's like our finger is on the glass. We got a sticky finger on the glass that lines up right down our line of sight with that endpoint. Now we're sliding with our sticky finger the entire viewport until our finger comes to that guideline. Click again. And there's the three orthographic views, top, front, and right side. Let's set them all to the same layer. And since I don't want the viewports to plot out, again, it's not very elegant to use a viewport as your border. We'll select all three viewports and change them all three to a previously made layer called viewports. Now, on a start from scratch drawing, you'll have to create the layer named viewports. So don't take for granted that it already exists. You know, I often just say viewports. Click on viewports, and now they assume the color that I've assigned the viewports layer. Let's take a closer look at that layer. Not only the layer is yellow, but it's rigged so it'll never plot out. And I think you see this pretty common in professional drawings. Some assign it a color gray. I recommend yellow because yellow is so faint you can easily imagine how the sheet of paper will look because the yellow is almost the same as white. Okay.
I find myself turning the layer off of the viewports because the line work, it just makes my eyes cross.
I'm not sure what your.
I make it so the yellow border, as you show it there, disappears entirely when I'm checking drawings or even doing drawings, just because it's just too much line work.
Okay, I'm with you. That's fine temporarily, but
Yeah.
I don't think you want to deliver to your client with the viewport layer frozen or off. Just for good housekeeping. Whoa, O snap's biting me. I'll turn off object snap. Let's get the viewports so they're closer to our object. Taking advantage of polar tracking, let's get them closer together. Did I mess it up? No. It stayed on polar tracking. Still need the isometric. We can copy one of these, unlock it. Let me show you the other way I recommend making viewports. Viewports are on the View tab. No, viewports are on the Layout tab. My bad. So on the Layout tab, come over here to this flyout. Polygonal is just about the same as object, but converting an object to a viewport allows you to have arcs and circles, where polygonal is, just straight lines. So I suggest you practice first the object method of creating a viewport. Well, we ain't got no object over here. Let's go back to home. We'll draw a circle someplace just to show it's possible. An ellipse. You can draw a zigzaggy line and fill it, make some round corners with it. Right click for close. I'll fill it. Set the radius to some distance. Enter for last used command. Enter again. So I've got lines and arcs here. I'll p-edit, weld it into a polyline, like we've done several times before. Yes, I want to convert it into one. Invoke the join option of the p-edit command and select everything. And now it's a closed polyline. Hit escape, enter again to get back to command prompt. Select it. It's a closed polyline now. Let's go back to layout. Pick the object method of creating a viewport. And the circle or ellipse becomes a viewport. This, what happened? This closed polyline that's had the corners filleted becomes a viewport. By default, it tries to zoom extents. Anyway, let's a rectangular one. Well, what the heck? Let's move this odd shaped one into position, and we can grip edit it later as necessary. I want to put it on the viewports layer. Oh, let me zoom in. Get back to paper space here. Zoom in a bit, activate it. I can't quite, it's cropped off the standard display view, or the drop-down list of views. I'll double click out to get into paper space, grip edit this guy so I can, no, that, oh, rats. Yeah. Okay, there's the visual styles drop down. It's almost cropped off. There's the view drop down menu. I'll say Southwest isometric. Zoom in on our exercise 17. Double click outside of the viewport or click on the word model to get back to paper space. I'll grip edit. This will ruin the curves, but that's okay. I'll grip edit so I can see my exercise 17 better. I'll set the zoom scale to 0.01 like the others. And I'll lock the viewport like I did the others. Got a couple layers to freeze. Click on this freeze. Up. Activate the viewport first. Now click on the freeze layer of the object I select. Yes, I want to freeze the current layer. And again, freeze the whatever layer the green text is on. Double click outside. It's really not necessary. In my opinion, the isometric doesn't have to be the exact same scale as the orthographic views. Somebody might disagree with that, but I'd say make it big, as big as you can with the amount of paper space you got. The bigger the better, but some people might say keep it the same scale. Let's move our viewport so that the object is fairly neat. Maybe move it a little more. I'll move all the viewports so they're centered in the middle of the page, the paper, and our guidelines, though they're of little use anymore.
Hey, Paul, it's Dan.
Yes, sir.
One thing that you should probably note during this class is that when we have dimensions and text and annotation inside of a view, that just selecting the view, the border, that yellow line that you have there that represents the view, to move, if you don't select all the stuff that's inside of the view, it stays behind and it doesn't go with it. Your dimensions and everything just get thrown off place.
I think I'm with you, but that applies to dimensions that I place in paper space.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, that brings up a whole nother discussion. Where do dimensions go? Paper space is easy. But like you said, Dan, it's easy to get the view out of sync with the paper space dimensions. Dim regen will recover it though.
What do you mean?
Dim regen. Let me let me place some dimensions here. I don't know where they are in the 3D modeling, so let me go to drafting and annotation.
Well, if they're not on location, you're saying that when you do a dim regen, it'll snap them back into location.
Correct. Another instructor learned me that. Yep, turn back on my O snaps.
So what's the standard then, in your experience? Do most companies put the dimensions in 3D space or 2D space?
I think most companies put it in model space, 2D space. And, you know, they got 3 different layers of dimensions. One layer of dimensions for the front view, one layer of dimensions for the right view, and only the proper layer of dimension is visible. The others are frozen. You with me?
Yeah.
I don't know why that is.
In the paper space, you're saying, right?
No, I see it much more often. Dimensions are in model space.
And then filter them off based on the view. Okay, so that
Correct.
seems like more work to me, but okay.
Yeah, time permitting. Let's see, we got about a half an hour. I think I got some, don't tell anybody, but I think I got some Air Force official drawings and I can open up a couple and I think we'll see the dimensions live in model space.
I mean, that's what I had to do when I used to work with civil engineering. We had to put it in model space. And just like you and Dan were talking about, like Dan said, it was extra work. It was a lot of extra work because we had to put it on like, for the pipe had to be like a different set of like dimension for the pipe, and that would be a different color and things of that nature. So other things have to be frozen in different viewports. It was a lot of extra work.
Well, I'll ask around. Maybe let's go to a top view here. Whoa, home, top. Possibly the dimensions are placed in model space because you really don't need to go to a layout until your model space is finished. Maybe I see it in model space, because people want the warm and fuzzy that, the dimensions are correct in accordance with the contract. But anyway, as Dan pointed out, if I move a viewport, I'll undo this so I don't mess up the alignment. If you move a viewport, quite often, if not always, the dimension gets out of place. The workaround is the dim regen command. And nothing happens. Dim regen. Well, it made a liar out of me. Maybe because I'm outside of the viewport. Let me place a radial dimension or diameter. Move the viewport. Well, there it's stuck. Now that let's try dim regen again. maybe all parts have to be within the viewport. I doubt it. Let's see if dim regen. DIMREGEN, enter. I'm at a loss.
How do you know when the dimension is associative or not? Gonna toggle for that?
I'd have to, there might be something in the dimension style, whether or not they're associative. You know, I've never come across a dimension. Well, here the diameter is no longer pointing at the circumference. Anyway, Dan, I think the answer is dimensions are associative by default, and you got to go out of your way to make them non-associative. Probably the easiest way to make them non-associative is to simply explode them, and that makes them non-associative.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, but when I first started doing it and I would move the views and the dimensions wouldn't go with them, I thought that the dimensions were just useless, and they were just like a fake dimension hanging out in space. But then I like the endpoints of the extension lines, and I could snap them back to the parts easily, and I thought, oh, that's a nice feature. So maybe it wasn't as bad as I originally thought it was, but then brought up the regen, and I have seen that work also, unlike in your exercises for some reason not working. But it's all these nuances, different things.
Yeah.
What about dim associate? Dim.
Thank you. That
Something
might
like
be
that.
what I'm thinking of. Dim reassociate. I don't think it was that long of a type in command. Select objects, enter. Let me place a few linear dimensions. How'd that happen? I'll pretend I didn't see that. Let's move the viewport. Now the dimensions, nope.
Now what did you do?
Dim regen. Dim reassociate. I'm going to have to punt.
I think the key takeaway that everyone should realize is that when you're moving a view, ensure that you have the view selected and all the dimensions and text inside of the view before you move it.
I think that's good advice, Dan. Another way, another rule of thumb is get your viewports where you want them before you dimension.
Yeah, but you're always changing scale, adding dimensions, adding text, and you have to adjust based on the information that eventually ends up in the view. So then you end up moving the view with all those entities. You know what I mean?
Yeah, good point. When you start labeling annotation.
Yep.
Let me see if I can find a professional drawing. I think I got a folder of Air Force work. Don't tell anybody. Okay, I don't think these drawings are dimensioned. In fact, these are some of my professional work, you know, just making maps to show where we're gonna put the building. I'd have to pull out a CD. I was hoping to find a professionally dimensioned drawing to show you that it's common to place dimensions in model space and then jockey the visibility of the layers within the viewports. So I'm not sure why things aren't behaving like I remember them. Well, let's see. Let's see what dim regen does. Whoops, misspelled. PI regen. Yeah, I think dim regen is the one that I expected to work. Oh, okay. Dan, you know, we moved the viewport. I think where dim regen is if your viewport is unlocked and you pan and zoom within the viewport. You know, now that I butchered things up, may not work. But here, if you change the pan in within the viewport, dim regen should get it back together. There.
Yeah, that's it.
Let's see. I'm not sure why I never came up. Maybe moving the viewport is, you know, there's no way to automatically snap them together. I just never came across that occurrence.
Oh, before I forget, I didn't get any emails concerning homework or classwork. I'm not sure if anybody else had the same problem. Well, I know Sally didn't, but I don't know about anybody else.
Well, you're right. With the possible exception of, you know, at the bottom of the page, you know, do the following exercises as called out by your instructor. You know, we generally don't, we haven't been deciding what the homework is until right now here at the end of class. By the way, I should have turned on this second page a long time ago. I think we covered everything. But your mission, let me erase some of the garbage here. I'd like you to do at least two of these solid objects that show the three views and the isometric. The three views, I've I've butchered it up now, but the three views should be the exact same scale and exactly lined up. And maybe put your name and your name and the name of the file, or the name of the file including your name down here in the lower right corner. Keep in mind that we could make all of these a hidden visual style. Yeah, you can type visual style and come up with the hidden view. Why does it not form this hidden view? All right, I think we can do it. I guess the moral of the story is keep your viewports rectangular so you can always reach that corner there. But let's go to viewport or properties, visual style. Okay. Okay, this affects how it's going to be printed out, not how it's shown. There we go, hidden. I need to freeze the 0 layer in the front view here. All right, Burgener. There it is. Yes. I'll resize the viewport so it doesn't show the object next to it. Got you 15 minutes. Let me show off a little more of what's in the starter file. Here's a title block that I've used in academics before.
That's what we don't have, the starter file. I tried to explain that earlier, but I failed to communicate properly.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, the starter files, I tried to email everybody's to your home email address. And for good measure, I've uploaded the starter files to the classroom assignment, but nobody's found a way to get them off of the classroom assignment without having to add special software, which I don't think we want to do, especially with shipyard computers. So Dan, you did not receive the starter file by email?
Sorry, yes, I was just trying to search my email, and both email addresses, I don't have anything for a starter file.
How can this be? Yeah.
Same here. I will admit I didn't receive an email, but I did receive an email through the Newport News network.
Okay, here. They emailed Dan. Oh, shucks. Okay, my bad. It looks like I copied the email addresses from the wrong column in my spreadsheet. It went to everybody's nnschools.org or shipyard. I'll take a hit for that. I show I use Open Office because I'm too cheap to buy the Microsoft stuff. But I should have copied everybody's email address from the personal email column. And it looks like I carelessly selected from NNPS email column, which is totally useless now. All right, let me email the right after we close class. I'll email to your personal email the starter file, and I think I just messed up my spreadsheet, didn't I? So before we close, and I'll email this file to you, let's make sure we decide which two of the solid models we'll build the 4 views from on. The front. Which one should I assign? Let's keep it with these exercise drawings, because I'm not sure, well, I wasn't expecting you to dimension anything. So we can pick the sawhorses or the cat tree or the mailbox. I don't know how the box got off center there. There's the table that we did last week.
I don't know about everybody else, but for me, I think that a part with circular shapes and some depth, and it's instead of something rectangular, because in our industry, we're like in mechanical design, especially some in structural, you're gonna have parts that just aren't rectangular. I mean, an aircraft carrier and a submarine, there's not a whole lot of rectangular things on a sub, and I mean there are on aircraft carriers, but you have a lot of shapes that are not. So something with some curves would be, I think, beneficial to everybody. Not a table.
Okay. All right. How about this exercise? I'll find the number in a second. And this exercise, has that got curves as well as rectangles?
Yes, I like that. Anybody? I don't know if everybody agrees, but I like that.
I agree. That's cool.
Okay, that's exercise number 6 out of your book. I can't remember if we did it or not, but when I send you the starter file, just play with this 3D model already in your starter file. And the other one is exercise 24. And I'll probably not tonight, but I'll do, I'll email you PDFs of exactly what I want to receive from you. You with me? So 6 and 24. Let me show off a few more of these. This 3D, this thing, I've long since forgotten where I got it from. I assume it's a sample that might have shipped with AutoCAD. But somebody came up with this sundial with a round viewport, and you'd freeze one layer or the other. This one's, I think, the PM layer. The other one is the AM layer for morning or afternoon. Like we were talking about earlier, the annotation is drawn in paper space. I don't think there's any dimensions on here. And then the other one shows the 3D model. Yeah, this is locked. So 3DFO. What's this? What happened? Oh, forgot to activate the viewport. 3DFO. There's our sundial. AutoCAD ships with some standard title block. If you go into the templates, you'll find some drawings that already have the title block on them. I can't remember if it's got a default viewport already rigged or I created this. What else can I show you? Here's a title block that on the view tab. Whoop, nope, layout tab. There it is. Now, should I assign a title block or just let you use a blank sheet of paper? Let's just keep it at a blank sheet of paper. For what were those two again? I've already forgotten. 6 and 24.
Yes.
So I'll got you another 3 minutes. Right after class, I'll send you the starter file. And,
Are we specifying the scale, or are you specifying the scale for the views?
I'd like you to select a scale.
Okay.
And tell me what it is.
What do you mean they tell you what it is?
Well, let's see. I think
Just use the same thing.
You want us to put text in the view that says, "Hey, this is scale 1 inch equals a foot" or something?
Well, I was thinking
0
in the paper space. Put down the scale that you chose to use. Like for this exercise here, I might put down scale is 1:100.
Okay, I follow you.
And may not, there's always the question: do you make them as big as possible, or do you keep them to a standard scale? It's a little more professional if you keep them to a standard scale.
Yeah, that's
off this list here.
Yeah, we always go with a standard scale based on the space available, and then if you had to blow up and make a separate detail to, do some fine work, then that's an extra view. That's all.
Yeah, on the drop down list here, they got 1 to 10, 1 to 20, as well as the architectural scales. 1/4 inch equals a foot. You see that in a lot of house plans.
Yeah, we use the architectural scale for all of our work. So
Interesting.
yeah.
Navy never made you work with metrics, did they?
Nope. No.
Very briefly, somebody decreed that Corps of Engineers construction had to be done in metrics. And they soon learned that it was extremely complicated. It was cost prohibitive because nobody would have the metric measuring tools when they needed them. So they discontinued that after just, I don't know, a couple of years. You're lucky the Navy didn't do the same as the Corps of Engineers did. All right, but the takeaways, by the way, there is a clipping, you know, if the rectangle ones, you know, eventually you might have something that you want to wrap, you know, my handouts. Anyway, there's a clip command. I'll find an icon for it in a second here. I think I should be on the viewports layer. I'll choose polygonal, and I can you know, wrap tight around this object so I don't see stuff in the background. Unfortunately, I don't know that, you know, it's black colored because that's the current layer. I don't know if, okay, I selected it. It says the layer is viewports now. Let's see if it'll print out. Here's the print icon. And we didn't get into the printing like I wanted to. I'll drop down, choose DWG to PDF. It's popular to make a PDF. There's a JPEG as well. Click apply to layout whenever you see it dark so you don't have to reset everything. Click preview. Interesting. Okay, I should have been on the viewports layer before I clipped the viewport. I'm finding out. Undo. Set the viewports layer current. I'll have to, I'm not sure, it'll take me a minute to find out where the clip icon is. But again, clip. I believe this works for images and XREFs. And, now, if your viewport was made from one that was a converted object, you don't need to clip it. You can just grip edit the viewport perimeter so it doesn't, you know, doesn't show you stuff that's not part of your drawing. But the rectangular one, you might want to use the clipping command while the viewports layer is current. And I'm all the time using that on your handouts. Sorry to keep you late here. So let me show you one of my drawings from the handouts. AutoCAD class, fall. Let's this was a bad example. I should open up one of my solid model. Let me open up the go to 3D solids. And I got a layout for pages of the book. Here, this layout has exercises 33 and 34 in it. This one I have not yet done into 3D. But there I wrapped I guess I got a couple of layers of viewports. I probably did the clipping to show that this the same company that prints our book has one for SolidWorks. And I noticed that many of the exercises in the SolidWorks book are also in our book. But the SolidWorks book has everything drawn in 3D. So looking back, I probably should have chosen that textbook instead of the AutoCAD textbook or book of exercises. I was hoping to find one that's got a real snaky. There we go. You know, I either grip edited the object converted into a polyline or clipped the rectangular to isolate just the 3D objects out of the all the spaghetti I got in model space. All right, let's call it a class. I didn't cover printing as much as I wanted to. Maybe we'll do that beginning of next class. But tomorrow at the latest, I'll send you PDFs of what I expect yours to look like. I guess that'll take away the challenge of selecting the scale, but that's okay. And immediately I'll send the starter file to your home email addresses instead of your Shipyard or NNS or Newport News School System email addresses. Any question before we adjourn?
Nope.
Okay, give me a call or send me an email during the week if you want.
Thanks, Paul. Good night.
Right there.
Thank you.
Good night, Dan. See you, Damien. See you, everybody. Close shutting down. Why did it not? Interesting. It won't let me stop. There.